Order. Oral questions. Questions orales. The Honourable Member for St. John's South Mount Pearl.
Canadians are rightfully angry about the skyrocketing costs of the G8, G20 summits. When the Conservatives first chose the industry ministers riding for the summit site, they knew full well that holding it there was a physical impossibility. Now they've had to bail out to Toronto at huge expense to taxpayers. It's $1 billion boondoggle. How do the Conservatives justify their obvious gross mismanagement?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Safety.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. The member opposite might be surprised to know that her leader, just not very long ago, when he was in Huntsville, said, "It's very clear that when we're the government of Canada, the next G8 summit will be held at Deerhurst Resort in Huntsville." You heard it from me. The G8 summit will be in this community when we form the next government. That was from the leader of the official opposition.
Honourable Member for St. John's South Mount Pearl.
The industry answer for
It's
himself.
amazing that once you put in infrastructure, they think that's a bad thing. It's not just security costs that are out of control. $1.1 million for a sidewalk that is 84 kilometers from the summit
To nowhere.
site.
Sidewalk to nowhere.
$400,000 to restore a vintage steamboat that won't be in the water until 2 weeks after the G8.
Steamboat
Now, why
Tony.
does the industry minister not understand? Canadians deserve better than having their money spent to buy his re-election.
Honourable Minister of Industry.
Thank the honourable member for the question, but indeed, she's got her facts wrong, Mr. Speaker. There was no funding from G8 funds for the steamship, unlike her allegation. But I'll tell you who did spend some money on some ships. In fact, in 1995, for the G7 Halifax Summit, then Finance Minister Paul Martin spent $300,000 on the Blue Nose, Mr. Speaker. Oh, they spent money for infrastructure, gateway signage, marketing campaigns, and a new community centre for Halifax, Mr. Speaker. That's how they spent their money for the G7 in 1995, Mr. Speaker. They are speaking on both sides of their mouth.
The Honourable Member for St. John's South Mount Pearl.
The only one speaking out of both sides of his mouth is this minister. It's not just steamboats, gazebos, and sidewalks to nowhere. How about $270,000 from the G8 fund to buy a band shell and new washrooms? Now, the only problem is those washrooms are located 20 kilometers away from the summit site.
That's a long
way
hike.
to go when you have to go. Given the Prime Minister's history of missing G8 photo ops, wouldn't the minister agree that putting the new G8 washroom 20 kilometers away from the summit site is poor planning indeed?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
In fact, it's well known that there are economic and tourism benefits for the whole region that are, in fact, spent for as part of legacy funding, Mr. Speaker. That's why they did spend the money in Halifax, Mr. Speaker. But one of the other things they did in Halifax after the 1995 G7 was after the summit was over, they spent another $3 million on their projects in Halifax, just to thank the people of Halifax, Mr. Speaker. And yet here they are criticizing the G8 and the G20.
The Honourable